Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. My name is Jeremy, and here's your fringe news for January 8th, 2026. Let's see. Sorry, bear with me. We're keeping the momentum going. If you thought the Vandenberg leaks were the only thing shaking the cage this month, you're wrong. We have a massive update on the Immaculate Constellation program that suggests we aren't just watching UFOs, we might be building them. We also have a biological bombshell from Peru that refuses to die, an AI that is finally letting us talk to whales, and we might not like what they have to say, as well as a disturbing rise in sightings of invisible predators in our own backyard. So, for today's opening segment, titled The Parent Program Immaculate Constellation Exposed, this is what I have found for you. Back in late 2024, a whistleblower leak dropped a name that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community: Immaculate Constellation. At the time, it was just a name in a report, but as we settle into 2026, it has become the smoking gun of the entire disclosure movement. New congressional inquiries launched this week are specifically targeting this Special Access Program, or SAP, which is alleged to be the parent authority over the UAP imagery and, crucially, reproduction vehicles, or ARVs. The leaked document specifically references a reporting channel known as R1, a direct line that bypasses the standard chain of command. When a pilot encounters an anomalous object, if it exhibits specific observables, like if it exhibits specific observables like instantaneous acceleration or transmedium travel going from space to water, the data is scrubbed from the standard mission logs and funneled exclusively into Immaculate Constellation. This creates a ghost data problem for Congress. They are auditing the Navy and Air Force databases, but the events they are looking for literally do not exist on those servers anymore. They've been siphoned off into the parallel parent archive, which is reportedly managed not by the DoD directly, but by a private aerospace contractor acting as a custodian to avoid Freedom of Information Act requests. Furthermore, the whistleblower testimony sheds light on the specific nature of the quote reproduction vehicles. These aren't just clunky prototypes. The report alleges we have operational squadrons, which the document describes a specific incident in the Indian Ocean where a U.S. carrier strike group was shadowed by quote unquote spherical interceptors that were initially identified as hostile, but to be tagged but to later to be tagged as Blue Force or friendly assets by a confused radar operator who had access to the Immaculate Constellation codes. This implies that we are flying these things alongside our conventional F 35s, but the pilots in said F 35s don't know that the silver orb off their wingman's flank is actually one of ours. The context here is terrifyingly specific. The leaked documents describe Immaculate Constellation not as a research group, but as a nexus for quarantining data. It acts as a black hole where sightings of anomalous aerospace threats go to disappear before they can reach the wider military intelligence community. The program reportedly manages a network of child SAPs, enforcing a rigid compartmentalization that keeps even high ranking flag officers in the dark. But the real meat of this story is the ARV designation. The documents explicitly mention reproduction vehicles, or craft built by human hands using reverse engineering non human technology. We aren't just talking about lights in the sky anymore. We are talking about our lights in the sky. The report details specific incidences, including a cuboid formation of orbs and a saucer that actively evaded space based sensors, suggesting that we are monitoring both them and us in a silent orbital Cold War. Why is this blowing up now? Because the bottleneck we talked about a few days ago regarding the Vandenberg is allegedly being directed by this very program. Immaculate Constellation is the gatekeeper. If the Senate wants to see the bodies or the craft, they have to break this specific lock. The 2026 hearings are no longer asking, do UFOs exist? They're asking, who authorized the budget for the reproductive vehicle program? So the document mentions reproduction vehicles alongside UAPs. Does this mean the triangles people see, like the TR-3B, are actually admitted U.S. tech under this program? You have to look at the timing. Why leak Immaculate Constellation now in early 2026? It feels like a controlled demolition of the secrecy regime. By using this specific term, reproduction vehicles, the whistleblowers are giving the government an out. They don't have to admit to aliens. They just have to admit to advanced tech. It shifts the conversation from we are being invaded to we are superior. It's a psychological operation designed to prepare us for a conflict where these assets might be used. Let's say if World War III kicks off and suddenly the US Air Force has Tic Tacs that can drop from orbit in 3 seconds. They need the public to know it's us, so we don't panic. But here's the darker thought. What if the reproduction part is a lie? What if we can't reproduce them? There's a school of thought that says Immaculate Constellation is actually a failure. What we have, or that we have the craft, but we can't make them work consistently. And this leak is a desperate attempt to crowdsource the physics. They are showing us the car keys and asking if anyone knows how to start the engine. If we really had the operational squadrons of anti-gravity craft, we wouldn't be building conventional rockets anymore. The fact that we are still burning jet fuel tells me that whatever is inside Immaculate Constellation, they haven't fully mastered it yet. Now, with segment 2, let's catch up on a topic that we've visited fairly often. A segment I'm titling, The Tridactyl Wars. Maria is male? The saga of the Nazca mummies, those three-fingered small-bodied entities found in Peru, has taken another bizarre turn. After a year of silence following the initial chaotic hearings, a new wave of peer-reviewed and independent analysis has surfaced, challenging the hoax narrative. A report updated in late 2025 regarding the specimen known as Maria has thrown the biological community into a tailspin. The new analysis, conducted by independent biolabs, confirmed that while the DNA shares a significant percentage with Homo sapiens, there are anomalies that cannot be easily explained by contamination. Specifically, the Maria specimen, previously thought to be a female humanoid, was identified chromosomally as male, despite the morphological features. This contradiction has reignited the debate. Are these genetic hybrids ancient birth defects or a distinct subspecies of human that evolved in the isolation of the Peruvian desert? The complexity of the Maria specimen goes beyond just the chromosomes. The 2026 CT scans have revealed something that simply shouldn't exist in nature. Osmium and cadmium implants fuse directly into the phalanges, or the finger bones, and the chest cavity. These aren't decorative jewelry. They are subcutaneous, interwoven with the bone structure in a way that implies they were placed there while the entity was still growing. In human metallurgy, osmium is incredibly rare and toxic, yet here it is, sitting inside a biological organism that lived 1,500 years ago. The new report suggests these implants might have served a bioelectric function, acting as conductors or stabilizers for the entity's nervous system. This has caused a massive geopolitical rift. The Peruvian Ministry of Culture, backed by American pressure, is currently raiding universities in Ica to seize the bodies, claiming they are archaeological artifacts. Meanwhile, the scientists analyzing them are claiming they are biological entities and therefore distinct from human heritage laws. It's a legal tug of war over the definition of human. If Maria is a distinct species with advanced metallurgical implants, she isn't just a Peruvian mummy. She is a proof of lost technological epoch. She is proof of a lost technological epoch. The establishment is trying to bury the bodies in a museum basement before the public realizes that the decorations inside them might be ancient nanotechnology. Critics, including teams from Lakeland University, have long argued that the DNA is 100% human and the bodies are constructed taxidermy, meaning dolls made of bones. However, the new Abraxas Biosystems report and others from 2025 suggests the bone density and joint articulation in the hands and feet show signs of growth, not assembly. You cannot fake the internal vascular scarring of a living bone. The rabbit hole here is the uncanny valley of biology. If these things are 99% human, but have 3 fingers and elongated skulls, are we looking at an ancient genetic experiment? The 2026 update isn't that they are aliens from Zeta Reticuli, it's that they might be us, but changed. The tridactyl phenomenon is moving from a circus sideshow to a serious question about the forgotten branches of the human family tree. The question that comes to my mind is, if the DNA is 99% human, does that rule out extraterrestrials? Or does it support the ancient astronaut theory that we were genetically engineered in their image? Here's my thoughts on it. Let's talk about the hybrid theory, because that's where this gets uncomfortable. If Maria is male, but has female morphology and shares 99% of our DNA, we aren't looking at an alien. We are looking at a cousin. The ancient myths of the star people coming down and mating with humans, i.e., the Nephilim, the Watchers, or even the Hopi ant people, suddenly move from folklore to biology. What if the Nazca Lions weren't drawn for the gods, but by their children? It suggests that Earth has been a laboratory for a long time. If you are an advanced intelligence, you wouldn't just land and say hello. You would tweak the local fauna. You'd upgrade the monkeys. Maria might be a failed upgrade, a genetic dead end that lived and died in the desert, worshipped by the standard humans around her. The reason the scientific community is so angry isn't because they think it's a hoax. It's because deep down, they know that if they validate this, they have to rewrite every history book from Sumeria to the Bible. And they aren't ready to do that. Now, let's move on to our third segment of the day, titled The Interspecies Internet, AI Speaks Whale. In a development that feels ripped from a science fiction novel, the Earth Species Project and Project SETI, spelled CETI, instead of SETI, like the famed Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, have officially crossed the semantic gap. Throughout 2025, they developed an AI model known as Nature LM Audio, meaning Nature Language Model Audio, which was trained on millions of hours of sperm whale coda clicks. As of early 2026, they aren't just categorizing sounds; they are claiming to have identified a phonetic alphabet. The AI has discovered that whales use a structure similar to human language, ruboros, ornamentation, and distinct dialects that vary by social context. But the breaking news is the deployment of WHAM, WHAM, or Whale Acoustics Model, an AI that can now generate synthetic whale clicks that are indistinguishable from the real thing in a whale's ear. Scientists are preparing, or perhaps already have, to broadcast these AI-generated messages back to the pods to test for a response. The breakdown of the coda language has revealed that sperm whales operate with a complexity we previously attributed only to digital networks. The AI model, WHAM, identified that the whales use nonlinear communication. They can layer sounds to convey multiple streams of information at once, effectively speaking in 3D. A single click sequence can carry an identifier, a name, a status report, I am hunting, and an emotional context, I'm distressed, simultaneously. We call them clicks, but the AI sees them as holographic data packets. This means their oral history isn't just a story, It's a transmission of raw sensory data. The project has now moved to the playback phase, where they are dropping hydrophones into the Caribbean to broadcast these AI generated packets. The early reports from January 2026 are unsettling. When the AI mimics a greeting coda, the pods go silent. They stop hunting. They orient towards the speaker. It's not the joyous reaction we see in Disney movies, it's a tactical pause. They are assessing the source. The AI is passing the Turing test for whales, but we don't know if we are saying hello or if we are accidentally broadcasting the acoustic equivalent of a threat. We are playing a game of telephone with an alien mind, and we're using a chatbot as the translator. This is the first time in history where we are attempting a two-way conversation with a non-human intelligence on Earth. The implications are staggering. If AI begins to speak whale fluently, we are effectively creating an ambassador species, a digital entity that stands between us and them. But there is a darker philosophical angle. The AI is learning this language by analyzing patterns, not by understanding meaning in human sense, or in the human sense. We are trusting a black box AI to talk to a black box biological intelligence. What if the AI says something we didn't intend? What if the whales have an oral history about the ones who hunt us? So, is it dangerous to let AI talk to whales before we know what it's saying? Could we accidentally declare war on the ocean? Here's my thoughts. Is the problem with anthropomorphizing aliens, or here is the problem with anthropomorphizing aliens. We assume they want to talk. Sperm whales are apex predators who have been swimming in these oceans for millions of years. They have seen us pollute, kill, and noisy up their home. Now suddenly we want to have a chat. If the AI successfully translates their history, I guarantee it won't be poetry. It will be a record of crimes. We are handing them a microphone, and we might not like the indictment that they read back to us. And think about the first contact implications. This is our dry run. If we can't successfully communicate with a mammal that shares our planet, breathes our air, and nurses its young, we have zero chance of talking to something from Zeta Reticuli. If we screw this up, if we accidentally insult the whales or drive them insane with AI-generated gibberish, it proves that we are too immature to handle interspecies communication. The Galactic Federation, if they are watching, is probably taking notes about how we don't even know how to talk to our own neighbors. For our last segment of the day, let's jump back into a Cryptid Watch segment titled Cryptid Watch. The Glimmerman Surge. While we often look for hairy monsters, a far more unsettling trend has emerged in the cryptozoology forums and report databases over the last 6 months. The Glimmerman. These are not ghosts. These are described as physical, bipedal entities that possess a visual cloaking ability, appearing like a heat haze or a clear gelatin, or a clear gelatin moving through the woods, identical to the alien camouflage in the movie Predator. Recent reports from late 2025, clustered in rural Tennessee and the Pacific Northwest, describe hikers and hunters seeing distortion fields moving intelligently between trees. One harrowing account from October 2025 involves a mail carrier who saw a human outline, only the air was doing it on a rural route. The figure didn't vanish. It stood its ground, causing a primal sense of dread that the witness described as being hunted. We dug into the location data, and there is a disturbing overlap between the Glimmerman sightings and the so-called missing 411 clusters in the Great Smoky Mountains in the Pacific Northwest, where people vanish without trace. So no scent for dogs, no tracks, clothing found neatly folded. Witnesses are now reporting the shimmer effect in the days leading up to the disappearances. It suggests these entities are territorial. They aren't just passing through, they are patrolling. The mail carrier in Tennessee reported that the air around the entity buzzed with a static charge, causing nausea, and metallic taste, and a metallic taste in the mouth. I'll just redo that one. Causing nausea and a metallic taste in the mouth. Symptoms consistent with exposure to high energy electromagnetic fields. This leads to the project Cameleo. This leads to the Project Cameleo connection. We know the military has been testing active camouflage since the 90s, metamaterials that bend light around a soldier, but the tech described in 2026 is too organic. Military camo glitches. It has seams. These things are fluid. The witnesses describe the entity moving through the brush without disturbing the leaves, as if it isn't fully physical. It suggests we aren't dealing with a soldier in a suit, but an entity that is manipulating the local physics of the environment. It's not hiding behind the light, it is bending the light around itself as a natural biological function. The surge coincides with military declassification of excuse me. This surge coincides with military declassification of quote unquote metamaterial research, leading to two distinct theories. One being the one we just touched on, the Glimmer Man is military technology or advanced active camouflage suits being tested on unsuspecting civilians in rural areas. Or two, these are interdimensional entities that exist just out of phase with our reality, and for some reason the veil is thinning. The Glimmer Man phenomenon is terrifying because it implies the woods are empty, just because you don't see anything. The silence of the forest might not be peace. It might be the presence of something you look right through. So, is the Glimmer Man the missing link in the missing 411 cases? Could people be vanishing because they literally walk right into these invisible entities? Well, I don't think these are aliens in the traditional sense. I don't think they are soldiers. I think the Glimmer Man is what John Keel called an ultra-terrestrial. They have always been here, living alongside us, just vibrating at a slightly different frequency. Usually we can't see them, but maybe something is changing in our environment. 5G, atmospheric changes, or the thinning of the magnetic field that is making the veil porous. The glimmer is the friction between their reality and ours. And that's the most terrifying part. If they are interdimensional, walls don't matter to them. Locked doors don't matter. The reason you feel watched in the woods isn't paranoia. It's because you are being watched by something standing 3 feet away from you that your brain refuses to render. The Glimmer Man isn't a monster coming out of the dark. He is the thing that was standing in the room with you before you even turned on the light. And now, for some reason, the lights are starting to flicker. So, from the deep ocean where AI is trying to speak to leviathans, to the high atmosphere where our own government is hiding reproduction vehicles in plain sight, the theme today is hidden layers. We have mummies that look human but aren't, and predators in the woods that are standing right in front of us that we can't even see. It feels like 2026 is the year the filters come off. The invisible is becoming visible, and the silent is starting to speak. The question is, do we really want to hear what they have to say? And before I sign off for good, I know we threw a lot of heavy data at you again from those. So I'll be posting all of the sources, links, and articles used in today's episode over on our Facebook group and our X account. Go there to fact check the stories, join the conversation with the rest of the Rabbit Hole community, and tell me what you think is really going on. Stay curious. Sorry, I messed up that outro. Remember, travelers, keep your eyes on the skies, but don't forget to watch the shadows and the code. I'll see you next time right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole.